Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a sort of updated video. We're going to be giving our thoughts and proposing the sort of fan theory on how this could all fit between The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead going into Season 4 of Fear and Season 9 of The Walking Dead if the Fear group are, in fact, the Whisperers. And possible spoiler warning for both series if you're not caught up for either one. I'll keep it, moderately spoiler-free for Fear the Walking Dead, because I know not everybody, of course, is caught up on that. So this is a really good question, and I think recently with the recent news this weekend that Scott Gimple is no longer going to be showrunner for The Walking Dead and is actually going to be some kind of, content manager between all AMC, Walking Dead universe products. So Fear the Walking Dead, and, any of the other things they do, video games, whatever they sign up for. So he's going to be basically making sure, from the sounds of things, that everything kind of fits within one universe and it all feels cohesive and it doesn't feel like, one Walking Dead is taking place here, but then Fear the Walking Dead is supposed to be in the same universe, but it's kind of not. He's going to be in charge, it sounds like, of kind of making sure that everything kind of fits in together. We have Angela Kang as the showrunner for The Walking Dead. And so, it brings into question, we know there's a crossover already between The Walking Dead and Fear. It sounds like it's probably going to be a sequel. Some people still think it could be an Eastman flashback or something like this, but for the majority of us right now with what we're seeing, it's really looking like, and a lot of websites are reporting this too, that Morgan will most likely survive The Walking Dead Season 8 and then will cross over directly into Fear, which will premiere after the season finale for The Walking Dead Season 8. So this is pretty brilliant. You have Morgan going from one to the other literally on the same night, finishing Season 8, starting Fear Season 4. So very excited for this. So kind of the fan theory that's been going for many seasons now, I want to say, for Fear the Walking Dead, probably starting in around season maybe 2. Starting in season 2, when you started to kind of see Nicholas, who's one of the best characters in Fear for sure, maybe a fan favorite, maybe the standout from Fear. You see him, and he's basically covering himself in zombie blood and kind of doing the guts trick. So he's walking around in and amongst the zombies doing this kind of thing, and he kind of loses himself a bit in it. It becomes a little bit of a part of him. He kind of has, we've seen this over the seasons into season 3, where he's kind of started to do this more and more, and he kind of maybe uses it as an escape mechanism or, a way to kind of cope with not being able to deal with what's going on with the group or what's going on in the world, and just kind of, blending. So going into this kind of a blood trick or guts mode where he just kind of goes out, wanders around, has fun or whatever he's going to do, travels, whatever. So, once that kind of started, people started to kind of bring up the idea or the theory of the Whisperers. There were some things that Morgan had said back in Clear that some people thought, made sense for the Whisperers and kind of what they do and wearing the zombie skins. And then basically what we see in Fear is, as we go through, we find out that Madison is really not a good character or a good leader like someone like Rick is, where Rick will he will kill people if he has to, but Rick, for the most part, is still a good guy. He tries, if it can be prevented, he tries not to kill people just for, happenstance or just for whatever. There are certain times, like Dave and Tony in the bar in season 2, where it kind of becomes more brutal as the series goes on. But definitely at the beginning, you can say he starts off as kind of your, I guess, good guy cop, and he kind of becomes less of that as the series goes on. Madison from Fear, the leader for the Fear group, is quite the opposite. She actually has killed before the zombie apocalypse even started. So that was kind of a nice reveal in Fear, that we got to find out that Madison, even though she's a good mother and everything like this, she protects her children and all that, she starts to do some things in Fear that are very questionable. Probably in season 2, season 2's mid-season finale, killing and doing things like this, unprovoked, sort of, or, kind of, to where it's not a clean, defensive kill or something where, she's being threatened and she has to defend herself. No, we start to see her in Fear the Walking Dead. Sometimes she does these things where she doesn't really need to do that. There's certain characters that she kills. Hammer Time is one of the ideas. Don't worry if you haven't seen it. You'll know what I mean when you eventually see it. if you do get caught up in season 3, and she starts to do some things in season 3 that are really villainous or that are really going the other way. You're not seeing a character who is a good guy type of leader, a good girl type of leader. You're starting to see her do things that are more and more villainous to the extreme, to an extreme that you would think Rick would not go to. Rick, given a decision to turn Michonne over to the governor, he struggles with it, he thinks about it, but ultimately he's still the good guy, so he wouldn't go through with it. Merle ends up kind of trying, and then he can't go through with it. But Madison, she's a character that will go through with it and has gone through with it in situations similar in Fear. So she is, I want to say, someone who would be a great villain to see in a series later on, protecting her own group, but with regards to other groups, very quick to turn on, very quick to try to kill them, very quick to, if it's advantageous for her and her group, to do whatever she has to do in order to get a leg up, and just do what she has to. So it's very, very interesting, the idea of Madison possibly being Alpha from the Walking Dead comic book series, who's the leader of the Whisperers, our next big group of villains that are going to start coming in, most likely in Season 9 after the whole war is done, and whether or not we could see possibly a crossover back the other way, which is what a lot of people are kind of thinking right now. I'm seeing a lot in comments where you have Morgan crossing to Fear right now, but what about the other way? What about if, after Season 4 of Fear, we see the Fear group cross into the Walking Dead, or some of the group, Now how this would fit, or kind of the way I would see this fitting. Carl is no longer there in the Walking Dead TV series, so you're not going to see him in Season 9, having the same kind of story arc as he had during the Whisperer arc in the Walking Dead comic books. He can't hook up with Alpha's daughter, Lydia. He can't have a relationship with her. You can't see anything like that, so that doesn't work. You can't do that anymore, right? If you were to fit in the Fear group crossing back over the other way, or part of the group crossing back over the other way, and in Season 4 we'll most likely see where they're going with this, whether or not this is a separate group entirely, and it may never cross back over into the Walking Dead TV series, original series, or whether we are actually seeing them seize this opportunity and decide this is a really good idea. We could really see a crossover the other way and see some kind of confrontation between both shows, between parts of these groups. That would be really cool. Now, one of the themes in Fear the Walking Dead that Dave Erickson has been setting up and has been talking about for years in interviews and in passing on the show, it was a point where he wanted to get to eventually, which is where Nicholas and Madison eventually separate. So eventually, Nicholas sees Madison doing things that he cannot support. He will not support. Her killing certain people, her doing things like this that maybe some of the people he cares for, or some of the people that, he just feels like she did the wrong thing, new survivors they meet on the road, and him just seeing her as not as kind of the way we see her, which is not this, good person that you'd want to follow and good person that you'd want to support. So if that divide, as Dave Erickson kind of talked about, we haven't seen it 100% come in yet. He's still standing by his mom. It's still his mom and everything. But if we eventually see that go to the point where Dave Erickson has kind of alluded to, which is eventually in the series, he wanted to get to the point where the two do split. You could see Nicholas carry on afterwards as, his own kind of surviving thing, and probably help carry Fear, as well as, some of the other characters in here as well, too, which would be really cool. But you could definitely see Nicholas going off his own way. He's already done it a couple times in Fear. You could see him go his own way, and if there was a confrontation between the Fear group and the Walking Dead group, which would be really cool to see, you could have Nicholas kind of go off on his own and decide that he doesn't want to be part of this and leave, so you have someone to come back to afterwards if the Fear group is defeated by the Walking Dead group and, let's say, killed. In the process. So you can still have a Fear show afterwards if you were to do that, with Nicholas going off and kind of becoming the lead of that, and then have his, form his own group, this kind of thing, and survive for seasons afterwards. With regards to the main group, with Madison's main group in Fear, you could definitely see that you have, some really interesting characters here. If you're going to, try to find, which ones they would fit with in terms of Whisperer characters from the comics, I think you go Madison Alpha for sure. Alycia, you could probably do a Lydia situation, but it's kind of tricky to say who would be the male on the other side for The Walking Dead that would fit with that. Certainly not one of the younger characters like Henry or something like that. So they'd have to be pretty creative with that. Some people think the gender swap idea for Enid is okay. I don't know. That's kind of tricky. Madison only has 2 kids, so maybe some people like the idea of Nicholas, but, you got to find an age. You got to find an age that matches for somebody like this if they're going to do those parts from the comics and kind of fit it in. So in addition to that, it brings in the question, like for the Walking Dead comics, who would become Beta, which is kind of Madison or Alpha's enforcer in this situation. So out of everybody from Fear, who would be that? You could go with a few different ones here. You could have Daniel in there, but we don't know if Daniel's going to travel with them, if Daniel's still going to be in Fear the Walking Dead after this. We just don't know, Ruben Blades, what that's going to look like or how that's going to go. Strand doesn't seem to me to be somebody that would probably stay with that group or would be somebody that would be Whisperer-esque, so I can't really see him. He doesn't. It's just not his MO. He's kind of more tricky and he's kind of more cunning in that. So, I can't really find a character that would be a comparison. But definitely Taka, if they decide to bring him back, Walker, from Season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead, he could be a great character that could make for an awesome beta. Because, if you guys haven't seen Fear, basically Taka is a character, he's Native American, and He's introduced in the series in quite the brutal fashion. He's one of the best. He's got one of the best villain introductions in Walking Dead. Period. Basically, he scalps people. Old school, native kind of technique. Very brutal, right? Cutting the top of their scalp off and letting the crows, eat them, feed on their brains is bad. So you want to talk about Fear? That's a character to fear for sure. And if you're on the wrong side of that guy, as we've seen in Fear, he can be extremely scary. So I could definitely see someone like him certainly filling the role of someone like Beta. He's tall, he's big, he's got the long hair, and I really like his kind of just his whole gimmick, his whole idea. He's definitely somebody that can make for an amazing villain. Taka probably makes for a better villain than a hero, I think, or protagonist. So that's kind of how I would see kind of the group fitting and how the theory could kind of fit. Are we seeing something like that begin here, or are we just seeing them kind of do damage control, take Scott Gimple out of the role as showrunner, make him kind of an overall content officer manager type deal where he's helping them guide each of the series long term, something like that. It could be very interesting, but I do think that Nicholas could be, or even you could do it the other way too with Alycia. If you have one of them kind of leave the group, then you could have the Fear group kind of be the Whisperers, or some capacity of them could be, and then you could have the rest of the group kind of leave and then carry on with their own show afterwards, deciding that's not who they're going to be. And you could have Nicholas or somebody else be a good lead that people would like to follow and like to watch because he's kind of a good guy. So that's kind of in a nutshell how you could see, if you wanted to do it, you wanted to make the Fear group the Whisperers, as Chris Hardwick has said, it was very Alpha-esque what Madison did. Just little teases like this, little things like this that just get us talking, get us thinking, like, is that what we're seeing? Sometimes you see an episode and you're like, they've got to be the Whisperers. They have to be, just based on what they're doing and everything, and because their MO, like the whole Fear group, the whole thing they do, like especially in season 3, it like fits so well, especially Madison to Alpha, those comparisons. It could be really cool. So definitely there's people who love this theory, love this fan theory. There's people that hate it. I really like it. I think if you were to have, one of them like Nicholas leave on his own, you could come back to it afterwards. You could have Morgan, somewhere in the mix here, and you could see a crossover between the two. Or, who knows? Maybe you could just see Morgan go in 100%. We're not seeing the Whisperer group, and they're going to get their own story entirely for many seasons to come. I'd be happy with that, too. It would just be such a cool thing to see both the shows, merge sort of in a way, at least temporarily. Like parts of the groups kind of merge, which we're already starting to see a little bit with Morgan. That would just be like a big event for fans that have been watching Fear for 3 or 4 years, and then eventually just see them cross over to The Walking Dead, have them be a group of villains. You have that whole backstory you could take into The Walking Dead with them, and that would just be an epic confrontation or an epic, Walking Dead zombie apocalypse fan, event to see, that kind of Batman v Superman thing, or that kind of idea, where you have this crossover and this huge confrontation with using part of the Fear group as your main villains for The Walking Dead to be your protagonist, your good guy group in that. So let me know what you guys think about this one. We'll keep it there for today. We'll do some more Q&As probably tomorrow or the next day, but just let me know what you think. What do you think about the idea of the Fear group as the Whispers? Have you always hated it? Have you liked it? Do you think it's intriguing? Do you think that maybe seeing Scott Gimple transfer to that position could be to coordinate these type of things between the shows and do some more kind of crossovers in the future. I just think it's really cool, and it's a great idea. I don't know for sure if they're going to do it. I'm not saying they are going to do it. This is just a video kind of proposing the fan theory. Hear what you guys think about it. What do you think? Fear Group is the Whisperers. And if you haven't seen all of Fear the Walking Dead yet, you still got some time until Season 4 starts. I would highly suggest it, especially check out Season 3. I think if you don't like Season 2, Season 1, try Season 3. See what you think about it. See villains like Walker and the ranch and just some of the different things they go through in Season 3. Nicholas and what he does, Madison and what she does. It's great stuff, not just for Fear, but for Walking Dead overall. And I think it's Season 3 of Fear, I think is a must-see for every Walking Dead fan, because I think everybody would love it. If you like this genre. So if you like this video, though, please don't forget to thumb it up, guys. You can share, you can favorite. And if you're new and you want to subscribe to the channel, you can subscribe at the bottom. Click the bell notifications. It doesn't always work for me, though, because I schedule my videos one per day for you guys. I'm crazy organized and insane like that. Video every day, you know, that kind of thing. But notifications don't always work. So check the channel, too. Each day, if you guys, you can pretty much bank on it. I pretty much have a new video almost every day for you guys. You can check back every day or a day or two, and you'll see something new from me. That's the goal. That's, doing what I can do for you guys, my friends here, and just, be there for you guys to make these videos with you. I hope you appreciate it. I hope you like them. If you want to support the channel, you can do so through Patreon, patreon.com/TrevStan2. And that's it for this one, guys. Let me know what you think about the Whisperer theory, and I'll see you again soon for another video. It's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.